Welcome to this conversation. Good morning. It's like the conversation of breakfast, I believe. I would like to thank the deputy of the mission of Cabo Verde at the United Nations Organization in Rome, Elsa Simões, and we were discussing a little bit about the country, that it's not a well-known country, so we decided to speak a little bit about the country as well. And of course, there is also the ambassador P.O. Wennubst that you already know. And we would like to focus a little bit on Cabo Verde and also on governance of access to resources through digitalization and technologies. We had a really nice conversation about also digitalization a few minutes ago, and we agreed both that digitalization is not the magic. So digitalization can solve a lot of issues, can be useful, but there are also other aspects to take into account. So I don't want to take more time, so I will start to give you the floor just to introduce a little bit Cabo Verde to our friends here, and then we can enter in the topic of digitalization and governance and access to land, water, and scarcity of resources. Thank you very much, Elsa.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Cabo Verde is located in West Africa. It's an archipelago of 10 islands, 9 of which are inhabited. We come in the direction of the Sahel, so we are a desertic islands. So our main challenge to our development is the lack of resources, but especially water and soils. Our land mass is 4,033 square kilometers, so very small, and 10% is estimated to be potentially available for agriculture. So climate change is really impacting us very harsh. Our drought cycles, which we have always had, are now deepening. This last one took 5 years. So 5 years without any rain at all. And so we are surrounded by water, but dying from lack of water. And in that situation, the food security is really at stake. We are coming also from an history of famine. Our last famine was in 1947, where we lost more than 30% of our population. So that is also in the genesis of our diaspora. So at the time, men had to immigrate to find ways of living, and women stayed to keep the family and to manage the scarce resources. Putting this situation after independence, very strong measures were taken, especially to assure our food security. And we started working in increasing water retention and soil conservation, doing forestry, creating. Basically, we don't have natural forests. Our forests are man-made. And this is the scenario we have. To be able to use in the most efficient way water and land, we need, of course, to manage it very well. And this is where our challenge comes.
First of all, thank you for this because it's quite surprising. I didn't know that you didn't have a lot of land or so small land for the agriculture and so on. And I think that this image of a desertic island, several desertic islands surrounded by water is really a powerful image to think about for this also scarcity of resources. So we can go to this how digitalization helped you and the country to improve the governance of water, land, and how it's important to invest in digitalization.
Well, speaking of what I have already said, very soon we started to introducing water-saving techniques for irrigation and desalinating water for domestic consumption. As you imagine, to use desalinated water for agriculture would be still very expensive. We are trying to do it now, but it's still very expensive. So the government in 1998 took a decision to create a coordination unit for administrative and financial reforms. And this unit started working at the macro level on issues of all the governance, financial, fiscal, and administrative issues of the public area. And this unit continued to evolve and linked with the university and started training, giving internship for students that were working, that were studying computing and related areas. And this process is ongoing. So we are talking about 24 years. But the linkage between this, the university and this unit really created a great number of young professionals working in new technology and really trying to find their way and adapting what they learn to what the country needs. And it is in this challenge that we started seeing the strength of the youth, because they are not asking more permission to do things. They are doing things because they have to find their own niche of work, and they start creating small enterprises, creating apps through which they were linking the production to the consumer. We were lucky to be able to participate in Snag the System and to present some of these projects. And one of the projects is from a teacher at university, a professor at university, a young professor. I don't believe I think he's 32, and he's working with drones for forestry. With the drones, he's seeding. Well, I did not tell you, but we are also a mountainous island. So to reach, remote places is very difficult. Sometimes we don't have roads to get there. And so he's using drones to seed, to fertilize, and to do pest management. And he's working also with women that are preparing these seedlings because they have to be coated and prepared so that the drone can really then put the seeds in place. And he's doing this work and working also with the students. So this is where I find the future.
So, and speaking of the future, maybe we see if there are some questions for Elsa from the younger people, or otherwise I give the floor to Pio if he wants to add something.
That's first to say nobody is daring, so I do, of course. So when I remember at the beginning when we were discussing to link what the group of young ones created in developing the manifesto, and by the way, I'm pretty sure that if you see this exhibition, I was looking at habitats and proximity, and I was thinking about the changing of the landscape and everything that you explained in Cabo Verde, imagining using micro valleys where you're having green coming up and then managing the small resources in order to produce and be linked with the growing, I suppose, growing urban habitats and so on. I felt that the story where you are telling it's exactly the story that the group is trying to tell. The changes is happening. And it is not, as you indicated, digitalization is one entry, but for a vision that you have in your country. And this vision was shaped by your past, a past that you don't want to see coming back again, right? And therefore, for instance, I came to know that Cabo Verde is one of the most digitalized, put it this way, country in the world. And when we started having the conversations and discussion in preparation for the negotiations on the policy recommendation on youth engagement in agriculture and food systems, when we were talking about digitalization, everybody immediately thinks about, okay, let's talk to, I don't know, the Netherlands or Switzerland. And actually, when we were discussing, I say, no, the entry point for me is the story of Cabo Verde. And this is where we've got here young ladies that for the first time came here from living their own countries, from Nigeria, Bangladesh, South Africa, from different regions, and bringing both a message of hope, but also seeing that this reality of change is happening, and is happening thanks to the young ones. Maybe also because, I don't know, I would not be capable I'm still not capable to manage a drone anyway. I see drones everywhere, but I don't even know how to handle yeah, not even a phone, by the way. And this is for me, this is what is important. Important is that we are still starting from very different and diverse realities, but actually they are the element that are brought by the manifesto of the young ones are common to everyone. There are differences in how you apply them, but the unifying vision is the same, basically. This is the message I wanted to deliver prior to going into the formal part of this of today.
So, and in fact, in the manifesto, we have this element of using wisely the digitalization. We can really achieve something important and something new, taking into account of the legacy of the past, as Pio mentioned before. So the other question for you is like how digitalization and technologies can give equal opportunities to women in order to find a better place to work. You mentioned before that there are a lot of young students involved in these projects, or some women working on the more traditional aspects of this process, that again, it's also matter to combine the tradition, the legacy of the past with innovation. And so can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes. I would like to say that digitalization is not a one cure for all. And it's very important that public policies come before digitalization so that it can really be unifying element and not a divider. We were lucky in Cabo Verde because from independence, the government really invested quite a lot in education. And so we were able to really send girls and boys to school. And as I was telling you just a while ago, that I'm afraid that in very few years, instead of having women fighting for their rights, we'll have men fighting for their rights in Cabo Verde, because we are having much more girls, women in school, even from primary to university, than men. And so if you can really empower women from the beginning, for them to really be prepared, to then work in this digitalization and the technology, and be able to empower other women, you know. And again, I hope this will happen in Cabo Verde. It's already happening. We see women really dominate the scenario, even though it's not, you don't see many women at the governmental level. But it's what we talk about, the cultural and traditional aspects that are not regulated. Because you can have the best regulations, and I believe we do, but there are other dynamics, social dynamics, which have to be overcome. And it's not, just from today and then things will change. No, it's a process. Trying to accelerate it through public policies to protect women, to give them access to, for instance, in agriculture, we have training, capacity building for women for management, for agriculture management. They have access to entrepreneurial programs and incubators that they can be supported until they can put their projects working. Credit lines, because the basic issue now, at least in Cabo Verde, is access to resources, the financial resources to start a business. And this, yes, partly is public policies, and partly for you to enhance what we have gained through empowering women. We have to let time help us on the momentum for this to happen.
Thank you very much. Any questions from?
Thank you. I'm Shakira Haidar from Bangladesh. I would love to ask you that how favorable is the working environment in your country for women in food and agriculture sector?
Okay. Thank you for your question. Women in food and agriculture, they are really, I don't want to say lead because I want more, but they are the ones moving things. Not only in production, in the food chain, the food system, from bringing the products to the markets, and also in fisheries. Usually the fisherman, he goes to the sea, but then who really commercializes the fish is the wife. So the money is kept in the family. She receives the fish and goes, and usually women in Cabo Verde are very good business people. They have learned to really fetch for themselves, because as you remember, we had to do it. And we have laws that also protect women, because I'm not here trying to say that everything is good, no. There are still a lot. We are in a patriarchal society, so this does not change just because of the laws or just because one wants. It's a process we have to go through. But yeah, in Cabo Verde, women are leading the food system in Cabo Verde.
Thank you. And you mentioned before the youth, and the youth is also the reason because we are all here. And so what are the policy recommendations for having more young people involved in the food system and the food system chain or in agriculture and so on that are in place now? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes. First I have to say that the majority of our farmers are above 50 years old. So with the 52% of our population being young people, of course, the idea is to be able to bring these young people to production, to agriculture, the whole food system. And this has to be accompanied, and we are trying to do that, to make these young people realize that he does not have to do farming like his father or his grandfather, because it's not viable anymore. Young people are not going, doing all the manual work because they want a good living. If they are to remain in rural areas, in rural communities, they have to have a livelihood. They have to be happy there. They have to make their family life there, bring their children to school, maybe have a cinema or a theater, because they deserve. I mean, all of us are looking for a better way of living. So this is why we are also investing in automatization, so that they don't have to really worry about being there to do everything. The drip irrigation system can be automatized. So we are also investing in GPS systems, in satellite digital sensors for machinery, and different other gadgets for agriculture, so that and also we are also investing a lot in hydroponics, which is a system you can really manage easily. You can automatize the whole process. So these are some of the measures the government is looking, and I have to say that our vision is to be able to move our agriculture by 2030 to a more sustainable agriculture and a digital agriculture, or they call it now agriculture 4.0. I learned.
So I give the floor to
I just wanted rapidly to share that maybe, I don't know what is your perception, but this again comes to me as a surprise, because actually the narrative has been always that in countries, let's say in Europe we know that, for instance, the age of the head of the farms are in the average something like almost 60 years old. Now we come to know that in Cabo Verde is more than 50. Yesterday we came to know 2 days ago that in Mexico again is more than 50. So that actually the issues of the attractivity in bracket of or everywhere more and more highly urbanized population for the young ones, it's a big point. So maybe ask rapidly a question to you is, because what we are discussing and what there was a lot of discussion among the group of the young ones is the concept of the multi-professionality. So having both persons that they actually have 2 or 3 professions at the same time, but also maybe farms that are becoming a more diversified kind of enterprise. What about this kind of reflections?
Thank you, Ambassador, for placing this issue, because this is something we are also observing in Cabo Verde, is that young people, engineers, whatever, teachers, that their parents had land and they never thought about coming back to the land, because we suffered a lot from depending from the land, because with the lack of rain, the productions are usually very low. And these young people are coming back. They are not leaving their jobs in the city, but they are accumulating their jobs and other activities with this agricultural production, and they are investing in the modernization and digitalization. And so this is also something we are observing, and we're really happy because the idea is that these people who have already an urban experience and they have a good education, they can really invest in the transformation that we need.
And on Monday you were here with us and with the ambassador of Mexico, and I think that we discussed and we agreed that it's also a matter of how we communicate about this, multi-sectorial way to work in the agricultural field, or that we have to change a little bit the narratives about food systems and agriculture as well. Katrina, do you have a question?
Yeah, this is working. So I was just wondering, I guess there's mostly small-scale farmers in Cabo Verde. Is there kind of a community? Do they have an exchange, or are there people mostly for themselves on their own farm, or they try to communicate with each other or share also machineries and knowledge? How is it?
This is a very tough question you are placing, because it has been one of our biggest challenge. We are coming from an history of slavery and colonial. So just to set up the stage. And we have very much difficulties in maintaining the associations as an organization working, because there is always the issue of trust. Okay? Trust is built in other ways, not through the formal creation of associations, and also because in the past we had, after independence, we had a regime that brought cooperatives, and cooperatives was not successful. And then after the regime fell, most of our cooperatives disappeared. So we are coming back to it in other vision. But they do share. I mean, there are other ways of sharing, but not the one that you are mentioning, which we would wish, because then you can share machinery, you can, I mean, it's, and the government has done a lot of effort to bring this, but it's still, I think, it's a personal opinion, that it's an historical process. It will come. But we have to give time, and probably the youth are the ones who are going to change this paradigm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Something else? Other questions, remarks?
I can't help to bring again a remark and underlining this. Again, how the past is influencing your today and your future, and the effort to detach yourself from a past that has been not a pleasant one, and in order to, and then bring this element of trust. We see how difficult it is, and how it's difficult today as well. The history of Switzerland, I'm coming from a canton that is a mountain canton that more than 100 years ago had exactly the same kind of problems, famine, and half of the population leaving, women staying, men going. It's very similar, the story of our ancestors. And still today we can see that in some cases the past is kind of almost daunting us, is coming back in certain ways. The way we handle, for instance, what we call rustici. Now they are very famous because they are using the kind of all the buildings in the middle of the mountains and so on. Now we see them as something, actually they are very even expensive because it's fantastic for for holidays and so on. But in the past, our ancestors, they were getting rid of them as a cheapest manner because they were remembering the time of suffering, not a time of well-being. And what you say at the beginning of this conversation for me is so important. You don't stay in agriculture to suffer. You want to be in agriculture to feel good, to be part of the society. And this is the reason why the group here, didn't treat in creating the manifesto agriculture as a sector or agricultural production as a product or as a commodity, but as a common and public good intrinsically. And this is, and giving the value, not only talking about true costs of food, but the true value of food. Because this is, behind what you are saying is a story of a people that managed to free themselves, and now the young ones in a very difficult condition still, because climate change is there, because water is not there. By the way, Cabo Verde, I was imagining Cabo Verde are islands full of forests, by the way. And seeing that actually you are managing something that we keep saying that we are going to do it, but actually we are struggling. And actually you are kind of, for me, you're an example that you are leading in this. It's absolutely also important that this kind of conversations, and I'm happy we are also recording it, because I would like to see this kind of conversation being spread and coming in the network of the young ones as a message of hope as well. And thank you, Elsa.
Thank you very much, Elsa, for being with us and also to give us this overview, a picture of Cabo Verde. It was really interesting, and also this idea that everything is a process. In my opinion, this is also a good point, because we cannot achieve big goals without a long process, I believe. So thank you very much once again, and thank you to all of you.
Thank you.